Hello and welcome back to our channel, JMB Reviews. I'm Michael,
And I'm Jonathan.
and we are at the Palm Springs Film Festival reviewing a ton of movies that we're seeing.
Loads.
And this video is going to be reviewing The Correspondent,
Yes.
which was about a journalist, an Australian journalist. I mean, it's an Australian film.
Yeah.
Who got wrongfully arrested in Egypt
Yes.
in like 2013.
Yeah. And we both have very different takes on it. So I'll let
Yeah.
Michael go first and then I'll go. But yeah.
I feel like this is one of the few times that we have like very, very different opinions on a
I think
film.
this is the first time we have such jarring differences. I don't know if we've
Yeah.
ever had this big of
Yeah.
ratings kind of thing. So you're
Yeah.
in for a treat, guys.
The drama, I can't take it. Okay, no. Okay. So this movie, to me was very vanilla and boring. It's like it just takes the story, which like you're going to be sympathetic for the character because he got arrested on ridiculous charges and then imprisoned for those ridiculous charges. So it's like it's kind of hard not to root for him, but I was kind of annoyed by the fact that this movie did absolutely nothing beyond that. It was like it gave you the story and then did nothing else. And to me, I honestly would have just rather watched a documentary because this was supposed to be a drama of the story. And yet it wasn't dramatic. And so I wish it was just a factual documentary. And this movie's 2 hours. And like I guess it wasn't that bad for you, but for me, it felt like 4. I felt wrongfully imprisoned in that theater.
I mean that's probably what they were going for.
That's not good.
I'm just saying. Okay.
There are movies that can bring you into the experience of the character without making you feel punished.
Well,
And I did not feel good after that movie. I was just like,
I mean, you're not
please let
necessarily
it end.
supposed to feel good about it, once you leave the theater.
Yeah, not in that way though. I thought the acting was average at best. I think the side characters were good actually, but the main character was so vanilla. Like I
Yeah.
was at one point I was like, I'm watching a boring Australian man play a boring Australian man.
I
I was
wouldn't
just like,
I wouldn't say he
oh
was
my god,
bad, but I wouldn't say he was good either.
it was not good.
No.
Um, there were some. It was like hit or miss. Some scenes I was like, okay, like that's probably above average acting, I suppose. And then other times I was like, oh, that was bad. We couldn't have done another take of that. um, oh my god, I think it just upset me because it's like I do not appreciate a movie that like can't be bothered to actually be artistic in any way. Like there was
Mm,
no notable cinematography. The music was forgettable. The acting was forgettable. They brought nothing extra to the story. I can't say anything for the directing. I can't say anything for the editing. There was no cool moments. There was no moments that stood out to me. It was just 2 hours of don't you feel bad for this guy who got wrongfully imprisoned? It's like, obviously, yeah, because he got wrongfully imprisoned, but you haven't done anything else to make me relate or to sympathize or literally anything. And like, when we've already watched several films of the festival that have been like very artistic and very bold, that
hmm
was just kind of annoying to me. I was like, really? Like that's it. You're just gonna just like
Sure.
film it in the most bland vanilla way possible with nothing.
Sure.
Um so I think that when it comes down to it, that's my main complaint is it's like it's not a terrible movie, and it's obviously a story that you can get behind, but
Hmm.
it brought absolutely nothing to the table as a film.
Sure.
Um, and I don't know. It could have been that I was just like already not enjoying the movie, but to me, it felt a little bit exaggerated. Of like, I don't know. It felt like it was very much like, oh my god, like this is just like the worst thing that ever happened to me. Like, isn't this just horrible? And it's like, there's journalists who get like tortured, and
Hmm.
like, I feel like his story was like incredibly tame compared to this some of the stories that I've heard but haven't gotten movies yet.
Yeah.
I was because when I read the synopsis, I was like, oh shit, like he got captured in like a Middle Eastern country and was held prisoner for like
Two
months or
years.
years or whatever it was. And I was like, like I literally turned to you. I was like, oh no, this might be brutal, because I
Hmm.
was like, did they like? I think even said they tortured him or something. I don't know. I was like, oh, this is gonna be brutal, isn't it?
Hmm.
When we were waiting in line, and then it was like he was in prison for like
2 years.
2 years. As far as I could tell, he was probably in one of the best prisons in Egypt, because they knew that if he got hurt, that they would be in huge trouble because it was internationally condemned.
Hmm.
And then they just put pressure on the government and he was released. Like, and I don't think he was ever tortured. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, your problems aren't big enough, but to me, it the movie came across very dramatic, and or as if they wanted it to be dramatic. It wasn't dramatic. As if they wanted it to be like, wow, don't you feel so bad for him? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but like I've heard of way worse.
Sure.
That's what was going through my mind, is it's like this isn't that bad. And like it was also kind of funny to me because it kind of sounded like he just wasn't that good of a journalist.
Hmm.
Like, they kept doing like endless flashbacks to when his like friend, it was just a friend, right,
Hmm.
got gunned down in the street like years ago when they were on a job somewhere. And for some reason, this movie, I don't know why we even needed the flashbacks, because I didn't really feel any resolution from it at all. And the flashbacks were like 10 seconds every like 5 minutes, and it's not revealing anything important. It was just like constantly cutting back to the flashbacks.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it's constantly cutting back to that. And then it turns out that the reason his friend got gunned down is because they were in a dangerous country, and there was like a green safe zone that they were told to go to, but then there was no parking spots, so he was like, it's fine, we'll just park in the danger zone. And then they're just like slowly walking out to their car, just like all chill, and then she gets shot, and it's like, you were told not to be here, you're in a dangerous, it was just like for a parking spot. Like, I was like, dude, that's dumb. And then the whole thing with him getting arrested, yes, they laid down like crazy additional charges. It was like terrorism and like all kinds of stuff that he didn't
It
do.
was like colluding and like
Yeah,
misinformation and
but the thing is, like,
stuff like that.
they're like, do you have a permit to be a reporter in our country? And he was like, well, no, because I'm only here for 4 weeks, and I'm only here for 3 weeks, and it took four, so I
Well,
don't have one. It's like,
I don't know
so
about
that's
that.
bad.
I think it was the like, do you have license for like the cameras and
No, that
stuff?
was
And he's
additional.
like, that's not a thing.
No, that was after. But
Oh,
before that, they were like, do you have a permit to be a reporter here? And he was like, no, because it took too long and I'm not going to be here that long. It's like, so again, not saying that what happened to him was okay, but you cut corners and you're here without a permit because you just didn't want to bother. Because to be fair, he was covering someone else's shift over the holidays. So I guess he just assumed it didn't matter. But it's like, okay, you went into a dangerous, war torn country with a government that is
mm-hmm,
well known for being corrupt, and then you
mm-hmm,
cut corners and we're doing journalism without a permit, and then they get mad at you. It's like,
yeah.
that's what happens. That's why you don't cut corners in a dangerous war torn country. And it was
Sure.
like, I think the thing that didn't work for me is the movie, for much of it, is like courtroom scenes of
Mm-hmm.
this Egyptian courtroom. And it was very much trying to convince you, like, oh my gosh, like, isn't this so unjust? Like, this is such a bad court. And I've seen that in, American films where it's like, trying to portray like, oh, the court is being racist, or like things where it's like it's trying to convince you that, as though most courts are just, this court isn't, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But this is just like, I'm aware
Mm-hmm.
that the Egyptian court is not particularly just.
Sure.
Anyone who knows anything about the region knows that. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, yeah, like, believe it or not, the Egyptians don't have a constitution that says everybody has equal human
Yeah.
rights. So you don't, it was just like trying to get you on their side, and it's like, no, I'm aware that it's a dangerous, corrupt government. That's why you don't go there unless you're willing to be in a dangerous situation, and you certainly don't cut corners.
Yeah.
So that whole thing was just like, dude, that's why you don't go to Egypt. Like,
Sure.
it was just like, I don't know. It was trying so hard to get you on their side, and it's like, just maybe don't do that next time,
Sure.
you know? And
Yeah.
again, why did this guy get a movie when, like, there have been much worse things that have happened to journalists before?
Sure.
Like, there, at one point I was like, I wish this movie followed his comedic relief, like, Egyptian friend, because
Mm.
his story seems more interesting. Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
they were actually threatening his family and shot his dog, and like, he
Mm-hmm.
he got left behind, and got left behind in the prison for an additional 6 months while the white guy got to leave. And I was like, I almost
Yeah.
wish this movie was about him, because he
Well, I
was
mean,
also a journalist. Like,
well,
it's just like,
I don't even know if he was. I think he was just like the like cameraman for him. Like that was his team
well,
of
no, he
people.
worked he worked for the same organization. He might not have been a journalist, but he, like, was.
Like all three of them were like
They were all.
there
That
to
was the other
do
thing. He was
press.
working
Like
for, like, Al Jazeera, which I'm pretty sure is also, like, kind of just a sketch news organization too.
maybe
I'm
I
just
don't
like,
know.
what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my take.
Sure.
Did not enjoy
Uh,
at all.
s- uh, exact opposite. I actually really liked this movie. Um, I thought it was. I think the acting was really good. Everyone did really well except for like maybe the main guy was kind of bland at some moments, but for the most part, I think he was just like kind of good, you know. Um, and then I love the story too. Just it doesn't really need to have anything additional to it. Like I feel like the story by itself of like what is happening to journalism in different countries and journalists in different countries is like super powerful and some things
I
people
did
need to
like
know
that,
about.
at least at the Q&A afterwards, especially, they were like, yeah, we just really wanted to bring awareness to journalism under
Yeah,
attack, and I did appreciate that.
yeah, which I feel like is very important and very needed. And they even like showed stats on like the credits afterwards of like how many people have died to journalism in different countries and um how many people are imprisoned, and it was like I think one was like 700, like it was like 700 deaths and then like 1,000 imprisoned or something like that, which was crazy. Um, but yeah, I my genre of like movies I love of all time, like my favorite movie of all time is Hacksaw Ridge, which I feel like kind of like falls into this kind of category of movies. It's obviously not like this movie isn't as good as Hacksaw Ridge, but I can see it as like an unbroken kind of like in that kind of category of like real people that did exist that like had their
Except
lives flipped on
Unbroken
their.
actually has some really inspirational
They do.
scenes.
Yeah, that's what I'm
This
saying.
does not have that.
This isn't as inspiring or anything like that. That's why I don't think it's as good as those movies. But I still think it's a good movie that is necessary and stuff, you know? And I feel like yeah, I feel like it didn't really need much that needed adding to it just because the story was good at itself. I think the directing was good too. I think they kind of showed um how everyone was feeling really well, like all the different, like the warden and the main character and the comedy relief and then the other like protagonist and the courtroom and like his family, you know. I feel like they showed kind of everyone how they were feeling really well and kind of like pieced it together in a way where I think anyone could really grasp it, you know. um yeah, I just liked it because it's a story that needs to be told and did a good job at telling the story, and I like those types of movies. So, yeah.
Fair.
Kind of basic and vanilla, but
Just did
that's me.
not need to be 2 hours long. It was very long.
You said you came out and you were like, "Was that like 4 hours long?" I was like, "That was like literally exactly 2 hours long," and it didn't feel that long to me.
It
And
could have been a 45-minute CBS special.
you're like, is it like midnight right now? I'm like, no, it's like 6 p.m.
I was going through it in that theater. You did not
It
understand.
felt fast to me, so I don't know what happened to you.
You checked your phone like 3 times.
Yeah, because I was worried we weren't gonna make the next one.
Okay.
I was stressing out about something else, nothing about the movie though.
Mm.
But yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
yeah.
but yeah, that's our thoughts on this movie. Very divided and split, so we'll have to see what you guys think about it and let us know who's right and wrong. We can make like
Exactly.
a tally and like a poll or something. Be like Team Jonathan or Team Michael.
Okay.
Anyways.
Since everybody's gonna be watching this movie, even though it hasn't even been released.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So let us know real quick what you
Yeah.
thought.
Okay.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.